gentlemen. How's everyone doing?
We're good. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Good. Okay, so as we've said before, we've been trying something for a little while now on this pod, and we're now going to try something different, which is we're going to try a weekly dilemma show.
Hello.
So what we're going to do is we're going to encourage people, completely anonymous. No one will ever be exposed on it. But we're going to put an email address across this and email in with a dilemma. And we're going to discuss said dilemma. But there's one caveat to this, which is we're going to express to you, obviously, what we would do. We're never going to tell you what you should do. If you hear any of us banging on about our experiences from it too long, I don't know. Just write in and complain, really. So there'll be a lot of them. That'll be a separate email.
That's standard. Yeah.
So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you, all of you guys, at some point. Like, I'll read out this statement now, just kind of to let people hear the statement. But I'm going to ask all of you. I'm going to forward this to all of you, and ask you guys to read this out in your own voices. And then what we can do is we can put this in at the beginning of every pod or somewhere, just to express what the pod's about, because we're going to change direction and do this for a bit. If it works and people enjoying it, we'll stick with it. If not, then we'll move on and we'll try something different, because that's what this is about. Is that fair?
Very fair.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the statement. Welcome to the Weekly Dilemma Show, the podcast where decisions aren't easy. Every episode, we throw down a moral, social, or downright messy dilemma and ask, what would you do? Right, wrong, or somewhere in the beautifully chaotic middle. So just hear that. So what we've done is we've gone out and grabbed a few generic dilemmas that are out there. We're not going to BS people and tell them, people have already written to us, like we know that other people would do. We're saying to you, look, right now, we've grabbed these from the ether. They're quite generic, but they're real dilemmas. And I'm going to read out the first one and then kind of go around and see what people would do. How does that sound to you guys? Is that all right to do it in that way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds a bit like Sesame Street to me.
Well, yeah. I wonder where you heard that from. Okay. All right. So here's the first dilemma. Suppose a friend of yours, and you find out that this close friend has been cheating on their partner. Ooh. But you also know the partner very well, and you've been friends with them. This is a long-term thing, right? So I'm going to ask you guys, they're torn between staying loyal. You're torn between staying loyal to your friend or being honest and reporting the truth, which obviously could cause a lot of, we'll call it disruption.
Yeah.
What would you do? So, that's all the information, by the way. That's all the information. That's it. So
these two people are equally your friend.
You know both equally. Of them. You know both of them. One of them, the guy in the situation who's done the wrongdoing, who's cheated.
Yeah.
You've known him for longer, let's say. You've been out for a relaxing evening and a drink with him.
Yeah.
You've now found out he's cheated on his partner. You also know the partner very well, and you're close with the partner.
Yeah.
What do you do? Do you talk about that? Do you let this partner know, or do you keep stum? Anthony, you're shaking your head. Let me come to you first, sir. What would you do?
It sounds like something I've written in with.
Because the thing is, in order for me to answer this question, I really need to go to a higher source, and that higher source knows who they are. So this is the kind of question that I would need to put it towards. He's laughing his head off here.
Well,
you're going to put it to the guru.
My guru. He is my guru. He's always been my guru. So it's a very difficult one.
It's probably the geezer that was cheating on with the missus.
Leave it out.
It's a difficult thing.
Yeah.
Not to say that I've been there, but I kind of have. It's to me, it also depends on the relationship of the couple. I know it doesn't sound right to say this, but you know, there's always sometimes two sides of a story, and I'm never ever gonna promote the whole idea of doing it, but I always like to find out why the person has done it, right?
Yeah.
Before I pass any judgment. I'm very, very sort of, I never ever just throw, no, that's wrong. I always say, look, let's find out why this happened. Why did you do it? What is the reasons behind it? Why would you do this to somebody? Or why have you got to the point where you felt, I'm going to do it? And then sometimes, you know, we've grown up and we've kind of all been a bit naughty at some stage or another, right? But when you get to maybe an adult stage, there's normally something behind people's actions. Sometimes people are just absolute, I can't use the word, but you know. But then I always think, what was the root cause of that? Why do you think you've been in this long-term relationship and you've done this? And it's sometimes there is a story behind it. I'm not saying it's right? So please, I'm not saying it's right at all. I'm just saying sometimes I like to find out why that person did it. And then afterwards, if there's not a good story, then I would say, look, you know, you put me in a difficult situation. I'm not going to say like they're doing the soap operas, if you don't say it, I'm going to, because I would never do that. Mm-hmm. But I would turn around and say, look, you just put me in a difficult situation. You need to at least address it with the person, or at least end it with the other person, because if you don't, I don't know if I can continue our relationship. But then it depends how close you are with that person, because sometimes you go like, you know what, I've been your friend for all my life. This person I've known for a little bit, but I've known you all my life. So it's a really difficult situation. And I don't think it's as cutthroat as people would like to say.
No.
Okay, no,
that's my only answer I can give.
Okay,
I agree.
Thank you, Anthony. Mike, what do you reckon?
Listen, the same thing. You know, I certainly one thing I wouldn't do. I wouldn't get on some sort of moral high ground. That's definitely what I wouldn't do, to be honest. Of course, as any good friend or any friend, you know, I would try to initiate some sort of conversation with said individual. I wouldn't force them to tell me the intricacies of what's going on, but I try to be there as a friend and try to encourage them to make the right decision for themselves. Do you know what I mean? Would I necessarily go back and have a conversation with said other person? If I'm being honest, I wouldn't. I would, and whether that's right or wrong, I'm just being honest, I don't think I would. But would I try to get to a position with said individual where they're able to have that conversation with their partner? That's what I would try to encourage that person to do, good, bad, or indifferent, whether they decide to stay in the relationship or not, at least have that conversation. But I think ultimately the responsibility would lie with said individual to make that decision for themselves. But, you know, certainly, you know, as I'm speaking here and now, I wouldn't have that conversation with that individual. I would encourage said individual to have that conversation. You know, necessarily don't need to know if they're comfortable to share what's led them to that position. That's all well and good. But if they're not, then they're not. But I'm just dealing with what the here and now and the outcome, that something's going on that another person doesn't know about. And it would be beneficial, I would say, for them to have a conversation. And that's what I would try. My focus would be to try to initiate that conversation.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Michael and Anthony have come across with some very good points there, and I think for me, just to add to that is my personal loyalties will be probably with my friend. I'm not going to probably going to speak to the female about stuff that's not really my bag, because it's a messy situation that I don't really want to get myself involved in. But I think Anthony said that, you know, we want to try and find out the ins and outs, what's going on for that person, what's going on for my buddy, why he feels that he needs to do that. because if it's his woman and he's really serious, then we would expect them to take that relationship serious. That's the kind of people that we are.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that there's something's going on. Why that's happened going on here. What's going on for you? Is there something else going on in terms of your relationship? Why you feel you need to do that? And try and be that, try and be that bigger person to a certain degree, because with relationships nowadays, they can be really complicated. Yeah, it's a difficult one, man, because like. Yeah, we want everyone to be at peace with one another. We don't want to be thrown into these difficult situations. And although they happen on a regular basis, and you just got to look in the social media. This person's broken up. That person's having an affair with that person. That's going on. It's a mad world that we live in. But what's the impact? And I've got to look at that for the individuals. I'm looking at that for my friend. I'm looking at do you have a family?
Kids,
have you got to take that into consideration? Do sometimes you might have to get yourself into gear, man. Don't be messing about. You know what I mean? Like your missus she's a diamond. She's taking care of you, and you're far arsing around. But you don't find that you don't find good women around as regularly as what you might think. So that's the kind of thing that I'd probably go with. I'd kind of one I'm going to support them because it's my friend, and I'm going to come to him. I'm going to have a discussion. I think that's what Anthony was saying. That's what Mike's saying. We need to talk it out. We need to kind of find out what's going on here. Two, is there going to be any impact on him, on the wider family? Take those things into consideration, and then try and give good governance and try and come on, get your life into gear. You're farting around. Don't do that. Come on. Get yourself sorted out. But I'm not going to go to the missus and say stuff to her. That's not my bag. I'm not interested in that. That's not. Nah, I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Okay. Difficult situation. Yeah, it's interesting. Made me laugh as soon as it came up because I thought, oh, that's going to be a difficult one to answer.
Yeah. and not being funny. And I've tried to pick one, gents, that is deliberately difficult because I know that for all of us sitting here, how difficult that dilemma would be. But I'm doing it deliberately difficult because this is real life stuff that happens, right? This is stuff that goes out there.
Man.
As Anthony started off by saying, there is no right or wrong here. There isn't okay, this is the answer. Go and do that, because it's complex. Something's happened. I've got to say, from my response, I agree with all of you that I would definitely be more loyal to my friend, and my initial bit would be, what the funk is going? What's happened? What's going on? What's led you to this point? What's going on here? And allow them to just talk that. Now, their response to that is going to be the interesting part for me. If they're then riddled with guilt about what they've done, okay, so what are you going to do about that guilt? What are you going to do about what's happened here? And just basically almost kind of counsel them. What are you planning to do with this? Because it said cheated. It didn't say like a long-term affair. It said cheated. So I've taken that to mean he's had a one-off where he's just had a bash with someone. Job done. So for me, I've kind of, in my mind, I've kind of pictured that, and okay, so now what are you going to do? Like you said, there could be children involved. Is this a long-term relationship? And like you said, Win, if this is serious about your partner, then what the hell has gone on here? Was it, and again, like Anthony said, no excuses or anything like this. Was this one of those moments that's happened? And I don't think these things, and I'm going to be honest, I don't think these things just happen. That for me is the BS statement. That didn't just happen.
Yeah.
She didn't trip over a can
absolutely.
and land on you. Yeah. That's not what happened here. There was a
not in serious relationships.
Absolutely. So, okay. So now I want to wrap this up because we've kind of said here what we've said. So now let's imagine for a second, because this is our taster, right? This is our tester. What we're putting out is a difficult one. So ultimately, somebody's wrote in. We're now going to pretend, because like we said, generically we've got this off the internet. What would you do win, just in a nutshell, what would you do? You found out that your mates banged somebody else. What would you do?
If I found out my mate is,
As
It
just
has,
that's your friend. What would you do in
This
that
scenario,
situation?
yeah.
Just to
Yeah.
nutshell it, so that somebody can kind of get an answer to the dilemma, as it were.
I think the first thing I'll do is I want to kind of understand what's going on in the situation. So I would like to, because there's so many different scenarios that can make somebody do something of that nature.
Beautiful.
So I need to understand that first, and then
Go from there.
we'll continue the discussion from there.
Lovely. Mike?
Be a friend, first and foremost. Be a good friend. Try and be a good friend. Try not to be too judgmental. Do you know what I mean? And just try to, it's again, it's the fallout of whatever's going to happen. So let them lead. Let them kind of explain what's happening to the best, as much as you can, and encourage dialogue.
Yep.
And dialogue needs to be not necessarily between me and that person. It needs to be with that person and their partner.
Okay.
That's where the magic will happen.
Okay, thank you. Anthony?
Right. So the way I started off, I'm going to continue. I'm not a hypocrite, right? So I'm never going to pass judgment on my friend, but I will say to them, what's led you to do this? Are there problems that have been occurring from a long period of time? As you know, there's all kinds of things. It could be the intimacy has not been there for years. There's a breakdown in respect. There's a breakdown in all kinds of stuff, family pressures. Do you get what I mean? And the problem is with that is that person might not view that same person as they did before. So that level of respect, that level of loyalty might have been eroded because of these difficult situations that have occurred. And that's kind of why I'm always saying I'm never going to pass judgment, because you do not know what goes on behind closed doors, and you do not know the history that's led to things like this. So, and I'm not, the reason why I'm saying I'm not a hypocrite, because I've been in situations, I've known guys and women that have been there, and I know there's always another story behind it. So that, for me, I'm going to be exactly as said, Winnie. I'll support them. I'll support my friend, but I will just say to them, you know what? You need to address this, because there might not be a next time.
Cool. Thank you, Anthony. That makes sense. Right. So, okay. So if we wrap that up, I'm going to give you, we're going to go through another one. This one won't take us.
Can I just add something to that? So what about if that friend said to you, it's none of your business. Why are you getting involved in my business for? What are you going to do?
True.
Which happened?
And you stay out of it. You have to.
Well, that's what I would do. I mean, I wouldn't approach said person, but I've had the conversation, as any good friend should do, in my humble opinion. And if the person decides to do otherwise, then I wouldn't. This is just me personally. I wouldn't approach their partner, but I would just hope that something has resonated with said individual. Yeah.
Cool. And my answer to that is cool. We're going for coffee. Cool.
Okay. Cool.
Done. If he's telling me, mind your business, it's nothing to do with you, keep your nose out of it, cool. We're going for coffee. And we carry on as normal. It's none of my business. You've made it clear. It's still my friend.
Yeah.
But, and again, there's a part of that, however, there is a part of that was, how did I find out? Because it doesn't say in that dilemma. If he's come to me with that information and that's how I found out, then what do you tell me for?
Yeah, that is your business now.
Now, what you told me for then?
You've made it my business,
now I've got a certain. Yeah. Now I've got a kickback with you.
Yeah, that's completely different. Yeah,
that's completely different.
Yeah,
that's the different one.
Yeah, but if I'm out and about and I see that he's been up to, and I see it as it were, then that's very different. Okay, so can I give you this second one? This one isn't as. This is. This is
really. Go to my one.
Say that again.
I thought you were going to go to my one.
Do you want to go to your one?
No, you can do
No,
yours.
no. Is it? See, I was going to go completely left field. Is your one written, or is this a my mate has a problem situation?
No, it's
Someone
written.
I know.
No, it's written.
It's written. Do you want to
Yeah.
do? No, Mike. Do you want to do that written one?
No.
You sure?
All right. Yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me just okay, imagine someone has a stable job in a field that they're not passionate about, but it pays well and provides security. However, they have a strong passion for a different field, which might not offer immediate financial stability. Should they pursue their passion at the risk of financial uncertainty, or stay in their current job for security? Winston, go for it, sir.
Okay, I mean, for me, it's a no-brainer. Look, yeah, you need to kind of build into your passion. You know, you don't want to leave all your finances, just go to your passion. You've got no plan of action. I think that's a bit crazy for me. But you could always go part-time, couldn't you? And then pursue what you want to do. You know, in the other part of your hours of your week. My advice would be to go part-time and then pursue what you want, because I wouldn't also say to you, look, just go and go for it, and forsake, you know, paying your bills and you know, covering your mortgage or paying your rent and all that. No, that's not logical. That's not wise. That to me is not logical. But pursue your dreams is 100% something that I would encourage. And you've always got the evenings, you've always got the weekends as well. You know, we've got lots of time, you know, to kind of pursue those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll be cautious about kind of like just throwing in the towel and jacking in my job and then going to just pursue something. Although some people do it and they're really successful.
Yep.
It's not my bag. I don't think that's responsible, personally speaking.
So what you would do is you would do the transition.
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. Cool. Thank you, Rob. Anthony, what would you do? What would you say, sir, to this person who's wrote this dilemma in? What would you say?
I kind of agree with Winnie in regards to pursuing something that gives you happiness. One thing I'll say about the job market right now, it's not the best, right? So I would definitely think about the decisions that you make and the impact that it will have on, maybe if you have a family, how it will affect the family. Also, how it will affect your own job prospects, because the problem is sometimes that dream might not work out. And then you try and say, now what do I do? And then you might try and go back and that door's shut, right? So I do agree with what Winnie said. It's best to just sort these things out, do it slowly. But it also depends on what you're doing, because sometimes it might not be something that you can just do part-time, right? It might be a clean cut. So I'm a firm believer right now, maybe because we're older now, I'm a believer in life's too short. And sometimes you just got to go for things. And it might not work out, right? And that direction might be direction you might turn around and think, I shouldn't have. But isn't it best to live back in your life and think, I gave it a go. I tried it, and sit there. I've worked with people, before I go, I've worked with people that have said, I hate it here. I can't stand my job. I can't stand this job. And I've left that company and it's still there, right? I've worked with people, they say they can't stand the management, they can't stand this. But yet at the end of the day, if there's a pay rise, they're the first one saying thank you, right? Because they're on that machine. So to make that cut, sometimes you've got to turn around and think, do I want to be part of that? So I would say to that person, it really depends on how passionate you are. And if you really feel that passionate, then go for it. But with caution.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Mike?
No, I'm the same, really. I think it's your appetite towards risk, definitely. And I think timing is everything. Depends on where you are in your journey of life, so to speak. So, you know, if you've got, I don't know, a big mortgage, you've got kids and things like that, definitely, I don't think it's the time for unfunded risks, if that makes sense. I mean, you've got to do your due diligence. But at the same token, I think, you know, for me, it's what drives you, what you're passionate about. So sometimes you have to take a step. Sometimes you can take a step back to make a few moves forward. Do you know what I mean? So I've been in situations where, like I've been in roles where I've been doing above and beyond, not for the immediate reward, but for what's going to happen in the future. So it's a bit of a balance. It's a bit of a balancing one, but for me, it's about timing really, and not making knee-jerk reactions, and not making decisions without doing a proper and full risk assessment. Because when you've got to pay those bills at the end of the month, and then things are not balancing up because you've gone and taken a job off the back of a whim, which has not worked out in your favor, then what? Do you know what I mean? So it depends on your risk appetite, depends on whether you've done your due diligence. But for me, when it becomes a bit marginal, I become a bit more conservative, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? So what I have, I hold.
Okay.
And if the timing's not right, the timing ain't right.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, do you know what I mean? You still got bills to pay. You still got to balance the books at the end of the month, and you know there's not such thing as a free lunch. There isn't. No. Just because you know you might want to go and become an astronaut. Is it realistic? No, I know it's a crazy analogy, but is it realistic? Do you know what I mean?
Is it realistic? Of all the things, I love it.
Come on. I'm trying. No.
Man's going down the Elon Musk route and that.
Oh no, we've done that last week, right? But yeah, clipped up by the way. But no, but you know what I mean? It's is it realistic, and is it the right time to make such a decision? So yeah, so they're the sorts of things that people need to think about. Do you know what I mean? But me certainly, when it becomes a bit marginal and I'm not particularly sure, what I have, I hold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so thank you, Mike. And I'm going to say, for me, this was an interesting dilemma that came up because I spoke to you guys about this, about how I am looking to get back into a field that I used to be involved in ages ago. So what I'm trying to do is, based off of everything what you guys have just said, to be honest, which is I work 5 days a week at the moment, and when I'm in a position to get a day's work in the other business that I want to do, I'm going to basically say to this place where I am, I'm going to go down to 4 days a week. And then my 5th day will be on that. So it's almost like a seesaw that gradually, once I build this one up, bang, then I'll drop out of that one. But it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time because, as you said, Mike, I can't just jump. I've got bills to pay.
That's right.
You know, I've got bills to pay. So and the other will take a year or two to kind of build back up again. And once it's built back up, okay, cool. Then I'll go into that full time.
I suppose if you're young, you're 25, you're living at home with your parents, you don't have children.
That's right.
Go for it.
Go for it. Go for it.
Go for it. Definitely.
You've got that safety net, haven't you?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's not so. It's not. That's a calculated risk. You know, you can easily work out and you've done your risk assessment. I'm at home. It's okay. I can literally do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Go and travel around the world. You know, if that's the job that you want to do, go for it.
Yeah,
but if you've got a wife and the kids and stuff like that, and then you've got mortgages, it's a no-brainer that you need to be transitional in that pursuit of your of finding that doing that thing that you really want to do, that you're passionate about. But I would never not want to do it. I would always encourage that.
Yeah,
I would always encourage it logically.
So guys, listen. So I'm realizing time, and we said we was going to do like half an hour because of the technical issues that we had at the beginning. Hold my hands up. That was down to me. I apologize for that. So just obviously, like we've said, these are not real scenarios that people have wrote into us about, but just dipping our toe in the water this week. How have you guys found this? Genuinely, anyone, how have you found this doing it like this?
Listen, it definitely makes you think on your feet, to be honest. You know what I mean? Because which can happen at any time in real life. Somebody can come to you at any time with anything.
Yeah. And
I need help. This has happened, or whatever. What do I do?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? These things are not scripted. I mean, if this was a real life is not scripted.
Love it.
Do you know what I mean? Anything can happen at any time. And sometimes it requires a bit of thinking on the thing, being a bit creative, being a bit honest. you know what I mean? Being a bit honest. That's why I liked it. You know, with that first dilemma, I think the general consensus is that, you know, we wouldn't have that conversation with the partner.
And can I just say, I'm glad that you said that, Mike,
Yeah.
because I tell you what I've taken from this conversation, and all three of you have said it.
Yeah,
Be a friend.
that's right.
Be a genuine friend, which doesn't mean letting somebody get away with whatever they get away with. That's not what it's about. But actually, bro, what's going on for you? The fact that you've done that, and you've been with, say, for example, you've been with this woman for 10 years, everything's been lovely, and now you stepped out. What the fuck? What's going on? And just being a friend and being there and really hearing what's going on for them.
But not being judgmental.
Exactly as Anthony said,
Being a
which
friend.
is which is, and I'm gonna hold my hands up here. Easier said than done. Let's not get it twisted that that's an easy thing. It's easier said than done.
What you mean? Because we've all got a moral compass, you mean?
We've all got a moral compass, but do you have an opinion? And if you do, then
absolutely
have a look at the definition of opinion and judgment. They're very closely linked.
Right.
The two words are very closely linked. Your judgment is based upon your opinion, and you have an opinion.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you've got to then batter that person with that opinion, but it's just about being real and just saying, oh, okay. But my main thing wouldn't be I genuinely believe it wouldn't be a judgmental one. It would be one of concern, one of care, one of respect and love. But anyway, but overall, I suppose I'm going to go back to the question just quickly. Overall, how have you found this interaction about moral dilemmas? Is this a way that you think we could take the pod?
Yeah, I think it's good. I enjoyed the
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it tonight. It made us think a bit. You know, as I said, you know, these things are tangible. They're real. It can happen. It can happen to anybody. Do you know what I mean? But what would you do?
Yeah, Anthony, what do you think, bro?
I've got two things. One, I like it because it's like you're sitting in the bar or sitting with your friends or you're driving in the car with one of you, and all of a sudden this comes out. This is reality, right?
Of course it is.
And this is something for me, and I'm sure we're all in the same boat at the moment. I know this is completely off tangent. And I just want to say a heartfelt commiserations to those people where, you know, they had the plane crash just recently.
Yeah.
And I just thought, for me, I know it sounds big, but I just wanted to say, look, my hearts are with these families. So I know this is completely off.
No, you're right.
No, it's fair shout.
It'd be a nice thing to say.
Yeah.
So please, all those people that are going through that situation, because this is real life, we wish them all the best, and we hope that their families stay strong.
Yep.
Absolutely. I echo that. Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
You know
I mean,
what, Anthony, that was. Can I just say, I love that you. I genuinely love that you said that. It's and it is stuff that needs to be kind of put out there. Like you said, this is real life. This shit is happening, and my heart and thoughts go out to family, of course, family and friends. Love that. Sorry, when I interrupted you, brother, go for it. Yeah,
no, I mean, it's the world is a very kind of tragic place at the present moment. If you watch the news on a regular basis, so it's tough what's going on in the world and what we're witnessing and what we see. So no, Anthony's right. You know, there's people going through a lot of difficult circumstances at the present moment, and we've got to really be grateful for small mercies, so to speak. So. But, you know, as for the pod and the pod's direction and what you guys were talking about, I think it's interesting. It's thought-provoking questions. And even the topic that Anthony just brought up, that's a discussion that we could draw into and kind of have our opinions on and have a chat about. Because we are quite fortunate, really, and, you know, that we're not in that situation. We're not having to deal with that. So, you know, what can we do now to support those that are going through those difficult situations? You know, Anthony just said, you know, he's putting the love out there, and I think that's really important. So yeah, no, it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Lovely, gentlemen. Peace and love to you. God, no, sorry, Mike. Sorry, Mike. Go for it, bro. Sorry.
So, you know, in terms of So we're going to have an email. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mike, because technical side, you know how I am. If you don't mind, just creating an email address, and then what I do is I will put it across. This isn't going to be edited, by the way, with this conversation here. We'll get it in there, but I will then put that across the screen, so for people to email in a dilemma.
So people can email in with their anonymous.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
And we will discuss it in an anonymous way.
Yep. Absolutely.
Then, absolutely. All right. That's great. Yeah.
I can see the first one. I've got a big crush on Mike. Well, I'll give you a doctor's number.
We could have a debate about it
anonymously.
Right. Peace and love, people.
Peace and love, beautiful people.